Senate will now come to order. So I know that we have some, thanks, Jeff. I know that we have some proxies with us today, so I just want to quickly review questions and voting. So for voting and raising your hand, you can go to the reactions window, and if you're have any questions or comments or motions, use the raised hand feature and wait for me to call on you. And once we're voting, if you're voting in favor of a motion, use the raise hand feature. If you're opposed, click no. And if you're abstaining from a motion, click go slower. And then just a reminder that since today is being recorded, all private messages are made public in the transcript. So just be aware of that. And everyone does need to vote. That includes proxies. And if your motion or your vote isn't showing up on my participants window, I'll just gently remind you to vote. Okay, and moving on, before we start Senate today, I want to begin with a land acknowledgement. And since ASG is a body under the University of San Diego, I would like to share the land acknowledgement that is used at USD, since USD does occupy Kumeyaw land. I want to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional and unceded territory of the Kumeyaw Nation. I want to pay respect to the citizens of the Kumeyaw Nation, both past and present, and their continuing relationship to their ancestral lands. The Clerk of Senate will now take roll. If you are a proxy, when the senator that you are proxying for, his name is called, please just say proxy.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And happy Thursday, everyone. Almost Friday. Best day ever. Okay. So first to start off, AJ Armienta. Oh, wait, I think AJ sent me an email. My bad. Alana Del Torre.
Here.
Alexa Andrade.
Here.
Thank you. Angela Tharp. I'll come back. Benjamin Tebow.
Here.
Thank you. Brooke Powell.
Here.
Okay. Cecilia Baron.
Here.
Thank you. Daniela Peña.
Here.
Thank you. Elena Cruz. I'll come back. Ezra Wheeler. I'll come back. Fantasy Bias.
Here.
Okay. Lauren Fetes.
Here.
Madeline Wu.
Here.
Thank you. Max Donahoe.
Here.
Thank you. Megan Womack.
Here.
Mia Soto.
Here.
Thank you. Sabrina Mendoza.
Here.
Thank you. Sean Kenny.
Here.
Thank you. Thomas Riley.
Here.
And then Tiana Fee.
Proxy.
Okay. Thank you so much. And then for all the proxies, just a reminder, feel free to drop your email into the chat. That way you can get Grubhub credits. Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ari. Moving on to approval of today's agenda. Are there any motions? Lauren?
I move to approve today's agenda.
Second.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor having been seconded to approve today's agenda. Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Thank you. Motion passes. The agenda has been approved. Moving on to approval of last week's minutes. Are there any motions? Fantasy?
I move to approve the minutes of April 8th.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor having been seconded to approve last week's minutes. Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Thank you. Motion passes. The minutes have been approved. Moving on to report from Speaker of Senate. So just a reminder that office hours are going to be set. So please send Ari, our Clerk of Senate, what office hour times you'll be having as soon as possible so we can post it on the ASG website. And also, I just wanted to clarify something regarding the chat. So I know that last week there was some confusion about members of the public putting comments in the chat. And I just want to remind members of the public to please refrain from using the chat as a sounding board. And that's what the hearing of the public is for. Otherwise, it's not fair and equitable to the rest of the members of the public that are waiting for the hearing of the public to share their comments and concerns. And if I feel that there does need to be, that the discussion should be opened up to the members of the public, then I will decide that. So that's just up to my discretion. And I know that senators just want the members of the public to feel that they have the opportunity, and they do. And I want to make sure that everyone knows that I do consider on a case-by-case basis, depending on what the discussion is, if I feel that members of the public should be included in that conversation. Does anyone have any questions? Sabrina?
Is it possible to, like, if we have a discussion and it seems like it's something people are becoming more and more invested in, to, after the senators all ask their questions, to open it up for the public for a short duration of time in case their question wasn't answered, or should they just wait to the end, to the hearing of the public? Because sometimes we have those special people who are only here for 20 minutes.
Yeah, of course. I would say to wait, and the goal of having the comment form was so that students who aren't able to make all of Senate are able to put their questions in the comment form, and then that's presented to the speaker after the fact. But I know that there's also other ways that's written into the Constitution and bylaws that Anaya can speak to. So Anaya.
Yeah, so as Maya said, it ultimately, our Senate bylaws ultimately leaves it up to her discretion. However, if you as a body decide, you could, if you really didn't like her decision to not allow people to speak, you could overturn that. I think it requires a 2/3 majority vote for you to, I forget the wording of how the motion should go, but it's basically opening up the discussion to the public. It's basically what you would be asking for. So I mean, that is a possibility if you really, really think it's needed. But like Maya said, there are other opportunities, and it is kind of your job to speak for them. But that is an option.
Thank you, Anaya. Lauren?
I think I understand where a previous senator was coming from, and that, like, sometimes they'll have a question for a speaker that we have that won't be here for the hearing of the public. And I think that's where that was coming from. But I understand and respect what you said as well.
Thanks, Lauren. And I also think that part of the reason that there is a set time for hearing of the public is, like Anaya mentioned, that since senators are representatives for their constituents, it's senator's responsibility to go out and seek those questions in the first place. And that's why that time is set aside for the hearing of the public, and the discussion is set just to senators because you are representatives for your constituents and for the student body. And, you know, we do try to have, ASG does try to have that open discussion. So like the What to Fix forum is a good opportunity for all students to come and ask whatever sort of questions they have. And if students have questions after the fact, they can reach out to their senator that represents them. The senator can reach out to that speaker that was here, or send the questions to me, and then I can send them to the speaker and have them give any sort of updates or follow up, and I can present those answers as well. So there are other avenues, but Anaya did speak to that other option that is written into the Constitution. Are there any other questions? If not, we can move on to the next agenda item. So reports from committee chairs and coordinators. IJ can't make it today, so he just wanted to let y'all know that there are no updates from the academics committee.
So sorry, I'm currently eating. So for the ID&E committee, so as of right now, if anybody's interested on joining my podcast, feel free to contact me. Please feel free to ask your constituents and email me. We're trying to find at least 2 more people to interview before the end of the school year. And then, yeah, that's about it as of, oh, well, excuse me, hold on. Then there's the University Inclusion and Diversity and Equity Ad Hoc Committee. So they're working to find new ways to support trans and gender diverse folks in housing, as well as working on implementing recommendations from the Campus Climate Task Force formed in 2019, as well as the recommendations provided in the Black Faculty and BSU letter in summer 2019. Ezra mentions that they'll be attending reminder meetings this semester, and we'll have more information on these topics as the committee continues. Ad hoc committee will now be transitioning to a standing diversity and equity committee in the future. University Senate is open for feedback, questions, and concerns, so feel free to reach out via email to Dr. Kevin Guerrieri, I think is the name, right there. And then I can add that into the minutes as well. And then lab grads can receive a lavender cord or rainbow stood by registering at that link provided by 414. And non-lab grads can register at this link there as well. But yeah, that's all.
Hi, everyone. So first of all, we're hoping to get the student org committee bylaws approved today. So I'll be presenting that a little bit later on. And in regards to the student org mentorship program, we sent out emails to all the returning orgs we feel will be good fit for the new org. So we're just waiting to hear back from them. And in regards to the student organization award ceremony, Thomas actually took the lead on that, and he wanted me to let you all know the deadline for nominations is Sunday, April 19th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And I'll put the link in the chat for that, so make sure you get in your nominations for that. And also, the actual event is going to be on ASG's Instagram on Thursday, May 6th at 12:30. Well, we will be announcing the winners via Instagram Live. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I have no new updates from student life, but I will encourage all of you, and hopefully you will encourage your constituents as well, to get vaccinated as soon as possible, because that'll be good for everyone. Thank you.
Hi all, I also have no updates this week.
Hey y'all, so we're still recognizing Sexual Assault Awareness Month throughout the month of April, and we're encouraging you to follow USD Care, Be Well USD, and the USD Women's Commons on Instagram for information. We have the Take Back the Night event coming up April 29th, 8 to 9 Pacific Standard Time. And then starting today, everyone over the age of 16 in California is now eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. And the Student Health Center is encouraging those who feel comfortable to make an appointment using myturn.ca.gov or vaccinefinder.org. And the Student Health Center is working to provide vaccines to students as soon as possible, so stay tuned for updates. And I'll also put in the chat like an Instagram link for that.
Hi everyone, happy Thursday. So as always, there's more work on the database resource for the SPHGs. And then once again, if you guys would be willing to do the sustainability module, it's super quick and very informative. I highly encourage you to check that out. And then registering for the seating change screening, there's a link to register. It's great because you get to see the movie before it's even released, so that's exciting. It's also, of course, related to sustainability, and I'm going to be taking part in the after discussion, so I'm really excited to go there and hopefully see some other people there. And then I'm also going to be working on a presentation on sustainability for the Student Org Conference that happens, I think, in the summer or like before school starts, to hopefully get people more excited about sustainability and being more cognizant about that. Final thing, PSafe notified me saying that there's like this organization, I think it's like a Christian organization that recruits students. They're not really allowed on campus right now, so if you do see them, we're supposed to notify PSafe. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So for the Universal Design Ad Hoc Committee, as always, the USD Accessibility Concerns and Support Needed form. This could really come in handy with finals coming up, just making sure that your professors and or staff or faculty are being the most supportive around accessibility. So I'll drop that in the chat. And then we also have, like I've mentioned, the DLDRC got Natural Reader approved for USD students. You do not have to be registered with the DLDRC to have a subscription. It's just if you need it or want it. Again, it's a text-to-speech platform where you can like submit PDFs or any type of reading material that can, and it can voice it for you. So just reach out to the DLDRC email, disabilityservices@sandiego.edu. I'll put that in the chat as well. You'll get an invitation to accept the subscription via email from Natural Reader Tech Support. So just make sure after you email the DLDRC, they should acknowledge you and then they'll send it to you and then you'll get that invitation. And then check your spam or trash if it's in there, or keep up with me or the department if you have any questions.
Thank you to our committee chairs and coordinators. Moving on to our next agenda item, our reports from ASG Exec board members.
Hello, everyone. Our academic year is dwindling down. Let's keep going. And before I say my goodbyes with regards to these updates, let me tell you my updates. So on yesterday, I met with President Harris. Not too many updates. A lot of stuff is still tentative. The one thing I do advise for graduating seniors is that it seems as if even if it does get better in terms of tiers with regards to COVID, the two guests per person at graduation thing is looking as still going to be the case regardless. So I guess to that, I'd say I wouldn't keep your hopes up if you're planning on trying to get more than 2 people into graduation. So I would just say that it appears as if it's going to be 3 separate ceremonies on the Torero field. So that's the football field. And then the diploma covers are going to be mailed. So yeah, that's what we have with regards to graduation. And then Also, everyone got an email today with regards to the Horizon Plan. Please, please, please read that. President Harris is going to be coming to our Senate pretty soon. So if you want to ask some really good informed questions or have any questions based off that Horizon Plan, I would highly encourage you to read it. It has so much to do with DE and I. So I just really, 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 if you have any time at all, read this plan. President Harris, he's a busy man. It's tough to get him to Senate. So I really hope y'all are able to make the most of the opportunity by asking him those informed questions. And the plan for the future in the university essentially is in this Horizon Plan. So please, please, please read it. And then still working on the endowment. I just got word back from Jessica to set up a meeting for next week. So we're going to get rolling on that pretty soon. And then the search for VPSA, dwindling down, doing a lot of work, had around a 5-hour meeting last Monday. And then I'm going to have I think a 9-hour meeting on Friday and another 9-hour meeting on Saturday. So we're going to get a lot of work done within those couple days. So rest assured that we're doing some good work, and I'm trying my best to advocate on y'all's behalf too within that committee. So those are the updates I have. Thank you so much. And on to Justin, if he's here.
Well, happy Thursday, everybody. Justin is not here today, but I'll be giving his updates. Starting off with Dr. Harris approving the removal of gendered language from USD policy manuals that went into effect April 6th. And then starting back on April 12th, which I believe was this past Monday, teachers previously approved for hybrid learning may do so if they choose. This is in accordance with the Orange Tier developments in California. And after the lifting of the state mandates on June 15th, USD will follow CDC guidelines from there on out. And then for the BW metrics, 12 unique readers have access to 24 unique titles. And Justin will work with the incoming vice president to heavily advertise for fall 2021 and also add new titles. And that's it for his updates today. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well. So in regards to application updates, interviews concluded yesterday, and tomorrow they will be released, so decisions. So if you applied, very exciting, thank you. And then you also should hear back soon. Also tomorrow from 5 to 7 p.m. is our TVB Sunset Picnic Grab and Go event. Very exciting. If you registered to attend, I am very looking forward to seeing you. Please just be sure, if you are going, if you know anyone who's going, we will be utilizing the COVID safety monitors. It'll be TVB's first time using it. So just remembering, like, please be safe, stay the 6 feet apart, wear your mask, be fully covered, be cognizant that we are students and we want the safety we want to keep being able to do outside events. So please be sure to follow all the regulations and rules that we will be enforcing and asking of, which is nothing new from the last year. So just be sure to be cognizant of that so that we can keep going and doing better things moving forward. Also, if you're unable to make it tomorrow, no worries. We did post, if you're in San Diego, we did post over the week really cool and awesome sustainable local restaurants that you can eat at. And then if not, we also posted different ways that you can recycle and be sustainable in your own state or in San Diego. So be sure to check those out. As for upcoming next Wednesday at 6:30 p.m., TVB is going to have a fun bingo night. You'll have the opportunity to win a bunch of prizes if you get bingo. So please be sure to register. We'll be looking forward to seeing you all there, and that will be via Zoom, so it'll be fully virtual. Also, in the next coming days, like as close as today or tomorrow, we will be posting about an awesome another end of the year giveaway like we did last year. So please be sure to register. It is the same registration form as the bingo. So might as well just, if you're gonna get a sweatshirt, might as well go to our bingo too. I mean, why not? So please be sure to do that. Share with your friends. It'll be posted on our Instagram, but I also will be including it in the Blue Buzz. And there are only 600, I'm saying only 600, but the last one filled up really quickly. So 600, we're hoping still gets a lot of students. So please be sure to tell everyone and to be cognizant. And then also just as our final event for the semester is going to be a really fun Asian Pacific Islander does the American Heritage Month event, and more info to come as more things are being finalized. So just be sure to stay up to date. And then as per usual is the TVB feedback form. And that's all my updates.
Hi, everyone. My updates are pretty much the same as they have been for the past few weeks. But again, I want to remind you, I said this last week, but just in case some of you weren't here, that our election bylaws do not allow anyone currently in ASG nor anyone running in a campaign to promote a candidate other than themselves. This could result in them being disqualified, not winning the race. But that's a possibility, but they will definitely go to the elections committee if we find out. So just a reminder to not do that. And also student orgs can't promote a specific candidate. You can promote elections and tell people to vote. You just can't post a candidate's flyer. That was all I had on that point, but Fantasy, do you have a question?
Yes, I know that some folks are like kind of confused on like the process of voting / like where to find the candidates. So can I like repost like a screen recording of where to find the candidates and their flyers like all in the highlight, or would that be considered like reposting them?
A screen recording of
like the ASG highlight on Instagram, like where to find the candidates, and then I post like all of the flyers on the highlight. Can I do that or no?
Oh yeah, no. You can direct them to our ASG Instagram, but I mean, I'm not going to speak for the decision that the judicial branch would make, but I would just advise you not to do that, just in case. But that's a great question, so thank you. So yeah, if you have any more questions, please feel free to email me, ASG Chief Justice. I'll respond quickly. But moving on to more election stuff, voting is open. It opened at midnight this morning, so it's open until Friday, 11:59 p.m. So please vote, get your constituents to vote, spread our flyers around, all that good stuff. And winners will be announced next week, definitely after appeals happen, just to confirm. So, more joining ASG stuff for appointments. The application for judicial and the rest of exec is open until 11:59 p.m. tonight. So please spread the word around, especially for like finance positions. People who you think would be interested in finance chair and controller are especially, that's pretty open right now. So please spread the word until tonight. And for bylaws and constitution, Alana's presenting the student org committee bylaws today. So great for that. The judicial bylaws are still with general counsel, but I'll present those to you as soon as I can. But assuming I don't get them before next week, then I'd probably try to present the Constitution then. It's pretty short, pretty easy, but that's all for me. Oh, actually, I have more, but for the next slide, please, Jeff. I'm doing Justice's updates today. Next slide, please. Thank you. So on Saturday, April 24th, USD will be joining the 36th annual Linda Vista Community Multicultural Fair. So they're looking for members to table for that day. So if you're interested in tabling, please email Justice. I'll drop her email in the chat right now as soon as possible. And if you would like more information, you can visit lindavistafair.org. I will also drop that link in the chat right after I stop speaking. And as Justice mentions, every week, if you have any marketing requests, let her know. And to repost all of ASG's content on your private socials. And that's all.
Hi again, everybody. So not too many new updates for me, just more like reminders. The first one is, I mean, we already know if you're a member of the public and would like to receive some credits for today, please put your email in the chat. And just another reminder about the ASG Banquet Award nominations, that's due April 23rd. And if you haven't taken time to look at it yet, it is kind of extensive if you want to fill out more than one nomination. So please put that on your radar. And it's going to be a hard deadline for April 23rd. So just keep it on you guys' radar. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Moving on to our first item under new business is the discussion of the Anti-Racism Task Force recommendations and department initiatives. So Dr. Richard Miller has kindly made time to be with us today. So Dr. Miller, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Maya, for the invitation. And some of the things I'm going to share with you today, Anaya is, I don't know if many of you know, but Anaya was a member of the Anti-Racism Task Force. Thank you, Anaya. She was a very active participant and offered some very, very important initiatives that are student focused. So it was really good to have a student input, student perspective on some of the issues that we've been dealing with. As was stated earlier, I would again echo the recommendation from someone earlier to make sure that you take a look at the recent announcement by the president regarding the Horizon project. That is a major, major initiative on the part of the institution that has a strong focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. It kind of maps a new direction for the institution, in which I hope everyone will buy into. There are some very exciting initiatives that are funded by the Board of Trustees. And so I would suggest that you take a real close look at that and absorb that. And keep in mind, this is a part of you. This is where this institution is going. So I would encourage all of you to take a look at that. Yesterday, the Anti-Racism Task Force submitted its final recommendations to the provost and to the president and to the University Senate chair. This was a 34-page document that was full of background information, where the institution is going, what were some of the items that were of particular interest to the members of the task force. It represents a deep investigation into where we are and where we would like to go. Now, I would caution everyone by mentioning that these are recommendations. This committee, this task force was not empowered to make policy, but it was to recommend the direction of the institution when it came to a number of related issues. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that, because sometimes what happens when you see the work of committees, you see the work of task forces, generally you think that these are groups that are making policy, and they are not. They are recommendations to the policy-making administrators of the institution. So I just wanted to share that with you. We are not able to share the recommendations, the document, if you will, with the public as yet. That's a decision to be made by the president and the provost. They will be making that decision, but I guess they want to review the recommendations again, and their timetable for making it and disseminating it throughout the campus community is imminent, but they haven't given us the authority to do that yet. I will be willing to answer any questions that you have. There's a long list of recommendations that relates to anti-racism training for every member of the campus community. There are recommendations as it relates to anti-bias training for all search committees. There is a recommendation in terms of how the institution should respond to complaints of hate crimes, acts of intolerance. That's a policy issue that the committee has made a recommendation. There's more work to be done on that, incidentally, that I would like to share with you. But the recommendations did focus a lot on how the institution responds to complaints like this. I know this was a major concern on the part of students here at the university. So the task force spent an awful lot of time talking about how best to recommend a course of action for the institution to take. There were some recommendations regarding student recruitment and student retention. Some of these recommendations are reflected in the Horizon project. So that was the reason why, one of the reasons why I was suggesting that you take a look at the Horizon project that came out of the president's announcement this morning. There were some recommendations as it relates to the hiring of faculty, primarily faculty of color, at the university. There are some strategies in the recommendations that relates to how best to approach increasing the number of faculty of color. There are some very clear recommendations as it relates to recruitment of students of color on our campus. That would include more scholarships, in particular, relationships with the community colleges to establish these opportunities to recruit and retain more students of color. The recommendations as it relates to student retention as well. A lot of work in the recommendations having to do with anti-racism work. A lot of recommendations as it relates to strategies to educate the campus community on anti-racism work. So there are a lot of recommendations in here, and again, I hope that we'll be able to release the full document to the public upon the approval of the president and the provost. So, Anaya, is there anything that I've missed?
No, I think that was a really good general overview. I think the student, the ones that would most apply to ASG would be the student recruitment and retention ones. And those are just a lot of small things. It's a very long list that came out of our subcommittee, but they're really reflected from the Black student statement that was released. So if you look at those demands made there, you see a lot of the ones that would be on our list of recommendations.
Okay. Are there any questions? Clearly, the task force wanted to pay particular attention to the letter that the Black students had sent and also the letter that the Black faculty had sent to the administration. And I think the task force did a pretty good job of addressing most of those concerns. No questions. I'm surprised.
Sabrina?
So for the resignation that you guys have, because I was looking through and I really am pleased to see the percentages that you guys have like put as your goal for 2024 or envisioning 2024. Anyways, is there going to be like a continued kind of conversation about it? Because what happens after 2024? Do these scholarships stop, or are they like going to be able to be sustainable? I know USD is eligible to become a Hispanic serving institution as well. So I realize like with that one, there's federal scholarships and things that occur, but for like the other BIPOC community of students, you know, will their resources be continued past this time frame? Like kind of what's the goal here? I just wanted to check on.
Absolutely. What happens sometimes is when you see these projects come to fruition, there usually is a time frame associated with it. By such and such a time, we'll be where we will be. This is an ongoing issue, and it's not a static project. There may be additional initiatives beyond 2024, which usually is what happens. You kind of the initial time frame is kind of a springboard to the next period of time, and usually the institution determines how much additional time they're going to add on to that. So the answer to your question is, I do not anticipate any withdrawal or retrogression when it comes to the funds that are devoted for scholarships, for hiring, for that kind of thing. So no, I don't suspect that after 2024, things will stop and people will start to tread water. I suspect that there will be additional initiatives and focuses going forward. Usually what happens is that when you set a time frame like 2024, you find out where you are at 2024, what has worked, you find out what can be further sustained, You find out, well, here's some really ideas that good ideas that we pursued. It's worked out very well. We need to provide additional resources to sustain these successes. So that's what normally happens. So again, the answer to your question is no, I do not anticipate that the institution will cut off funds or tread water after 2024.
Ari?
Okay, thank you. Sorry for the noise in the background. I think my question in regards, Dr. Miller, is more how within this whole plan, how is the university, especially to increase diversity, inclusion, and equity, how is the university trying to essentially target, or I guess doing more outreach to kind of transfer communities? I know that was one of the main goals for the university, was to reach out to transfer communities, just because the population is quite diverse in the sense that there is a multitude of different backgrounds. And do you know that stepping forward within the plan that there might be a committee that may specialize in that transitional process of kind of being able to outreach to more students in whether it's San Diego or other parts of the country?
I don't think you're going to find any specific component of the task force recommendations regarding that. However, I am aware of a couple of projects that have been presented for special funding that relates to what you're talking about. And I've been on a committee that is responsible for reviewing some of these projects and recommending them for funding, one of which is related to the focus that you've just discussed. So you may be hearing something in the near future about that. I don't want to go too far and talk about something that maybe is too far in advance. But no, I just wanted to share with you. It's an exciting, I can tell you, it is an exciting project. And it very much relates to what you're talking about. Hopefully we'll be able to get it funded.
Okay, thank you very much. I look forward to it.
Okay.
Madeline?
Hi, Dr. Miller.
Hi.
Some students are facing like microaggressions from other professors, but then if they wanted to report that, they would have to reveal their identity. And then at that point, it's like they could face retaliation from the professor. So I guess what procedures do you foresee for like dealing with professors who are kind of like giving students microaggressions?
Mm-hmm. One of the things that the task force spent a lot of time on, and Anaya can speak to this as well, is to protect the identity of students who are exposed to this type of intolerant activity. And there are recommendations as far as protecting students with respect to that. There are recommendations in the task force that relates to anonymity. And what are some of the consequences if in fact there is retaliation on the part of a faculty member or a staff member? That is one thing I can tell you I will not tolerate. And there will be no tolerating of retribution towards students who report acts of intolerance. There just will not be. There needs to be a level of comfort, however, on the part of the student to come forth and report these incidents. That's really critical. There shouldn't be any hesitation. I know from having spoken with a few students, some are very reluctant to report these kinds of incidents. And we want to make it possible for them to feel free and comfortable enough to come forth and report these incidents. So again, retribution, I can tell you, will not be tolerated.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sabrina?
I just wanted to go back to transfer students. I was a little bit confused when I was looking at the goal 1, enhancing student learning and success, the key performance indicators, because for the transfer undergrad student enrollment, the 2024 target is 25%, yet we've already like consistently met that and exceeded that from 2016 to 2017 being 31%, 2017, 2018 being 29%, 2018, 2019, 25%, and then 2019 to 2020 being 29%. So I'm just wondering why we would want it to be so low, and then what like since we've already met that goal, what is there going to be that type of, I guess, passion or desire to kind of support transfer students, since transfer students aren't able to access like the same level of scholarships. We come in with a 0.0 GPA, and a lot of times it can be hard for us to navigate financial aid. Some of us are parents, and it's really hard to navigate that. USD isn't really meant for us non-traditional first gen lower income like identities. And so, but for us, being a transfer student is like the biggest part of our identities at times, because it's the forefront of our academics, even though we do have multiple identities. So I just am just concerned, because it's a goal that our indicator that we've already hit, that it seems like the transfer students don't need help, when that like the opposite is true. We need all the help we can get.
I can tell you in some of the conversations that I've sat in on, there has been a fair amount of interest in the welfare of transfer students. What's happening to our transfer students? How best to support our transfer students financially and otherwise. The Office of Admissions, Steve Pultz, this area, has done a lot of work on this. I cannot answer specifically your question, but I think it's a good one. I'm glad that you're taking a close look at it, because these percentages reflect the institution's commitment or lack thereof when it comes to transfer students. I would pose the question in writing to the provost and also to Steve Pultz's area, the Office of Admissions. It seems to me it's a good question. I wish I could answer that question. I'm not privy to that those details, to be honest with you, and how those percentages were determined. But I do know that there's been a fair amount of conversation, and I do believe that there are resources in the Horizon projects that speaks to more attention being given to to transfer students. So I wish I could be more specific. Unfortunately, that's pretty much not my area.
Would it be possible for like transfer students to request a meeting with like the people who are on the committee kind of advocating for us, such as Mr. Stephen Pultz? Because I just feel like a lot of times we aren't outreached to, and it can just be hard for our needs to be known, since we don't
Sure.
even know who to go to. And since you guys are making, really big changes, it would be really nice to have us at the table.
I will certainly recommend to Steve to address some of these issues, and I would also encourage you to reach out to Steve and his office to provide more detail. But now that you've shared this with me, I'll be happy to mention it to Steve, and he may be able to provide a little bit more detail. The Horizon, the groups of individuals that comprise the folks that made the Horizon project, there were a number of committees, a number of individuals from a variety of units on campus. I was not one of the ones that was directly involved in establishing those percentages and looking at what those projections will be going forward. But I can share with Steve the concern that you've expressed, and he may want to reach out, or I would suggest that the students reach out to the Office of Admissions and Enrollment Development to address this issue.
Okay, this is my last question. So local community colleges in San Diego are also Hispanic serving institutions. So I was just wondering if people who are working on the Hispanic serving institution and making USD inclusive for the Latinx community, are they also working with the transfer? Because given that there is big Latinx population at these schools that students would be trying to transfer to USD, like that is, I feel like, a piece that can be forgotten about, if that makes sense.
That's a focus of becoming an HSI. You have to reach out to the local community colleges and universities to look for transfer programs that make it easier for those students to transfer to USD. I do know that there has been a fair amount of outreach to the community colleges here in San Diego. And obviously, when you reach out to community colleges, you're probably looking at a majority of those students will be transfer students.
Yeah. What was the outreach recently, or when was the outreach?
Well, it's part of the Horizon Project.
Okay.
If you take a look at the Horizon Project, there is some reference in there to the university reaching out and establishing relationships to the local community colleges.
Could you, I'll include it in my email, but would it be possible for you to make the suggestion for USD to have their transfer articulation shared directly to the community colleges? Because all too often it isn't. And when you're a student there, you go to ask the transfer center and they don't know what USD wants, and they just tell you, you'll never be able to get to USD. They won't want a student like you. That's what you hear.
Yeah, this is part of what I was referring to earlier. It's an enhanced effort on the part of the university to reach out to the community colleges and to the HSI component of those community colleges. So yes, I would hope that because of this initiative, this renewed initiative, there's more communication between the Office of Admissions and Enrollment Management here at USD with the local community colleges, to bring those people up to speed in terms of what it is that the institution is doing to promote the articulation agreements and transfer opportunities for those students.
Are there any other questions for Dr. Miller? Anaya?
I realized this may be a question that the rest of ASG might be interested in regarding like the future plans of the task force. I think you may have mentioned this earlier, but the scope of this one, while addressing racism and like hate generally, was focused towards anti-Black racism. So can you speak a little on just how the task force plans to go beyond anti-Black racism, or how we could plan to go forward generally?
Well, the work of the task force was pretty much based on the charge that was given to the task force at the beginning of the academic year. There is always additional work that needs to be done. I believe very strongly, and now you may certainly be familiar with the ongoing conversation regarding how the institution is going to respond to acts of intolerance, acts of hate, and hate crimes. That is an ongoing, that's ongoing work of the task force. So task forces are usually time limited. They are based on initial charges, but there are always going to be continuing issues related to anti-racism activities on the campus. There will always be issues related to going beyond anti-Black racism. We're dealing with issues with the Asian community right now, as we should. But there are also issues related to the Native American populations and our Asian populations. And so that is continuing work that needs to be focused on. I would think that further task forces may be given challenges to address some of those areas as well.
Does anyone have any other questions or feedback for Dr. Miller? If not, thank you so much, Dr. Miller, for making time to be here today. Thank you for your continued work with ASG.
Thank you, Maya. And thanks, everyone. You all have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, so we can move on to the next line item under new business, which is presentation of student organization committee bylaws. So Alana, you have the floor.
Great, thank you. Can I share my screen? Okay, so hopefully everyone got the chance to look over the bylaws, but if not, no worries. I'm doing a quick overview of them. So starting off with the name and purpose of the committee acts as a resource for student leaders, as well as to review new organizations, and if approved, present them to Senate for final approval. And next, we get into the student organization registration process. So starting off with new organizations, if they have to first attend the student org conference, then any members from their org must complete the online registration form through Tour Orgs and present their orgs to the student org committee meeting for approval. And for re-registering orgs, the process is slightly different. They still have to attend the student org conference and online registering form via Trail Orgs. But if the registration form is approved by September 30th, the club's registration will be forwarded to ASG Senate for approval. And if they don't complete this process by September 30th, they would then have to go through the new club registration process, meaning they would have to come present to the student org committee. And next we get into the external affiliation board review. So all new student organizations that are affiliated with an external organization are subject to review by the external affiliation committee. And each new organization has to get approved from that committee before completing the next steps required to register a new organization at USD. And this part just goes a little bit more in depth about that. And so then now we get into the members and positions within the student org committee. So first we have the chair, which provides the agenda, facilitates the meeting, and basically just sees the overall functions of the committee. And then we have the secretary who takes minutes during the meetings. And there's also the presenter for Senate, which is what Brooke does almost every meeting, where we present info on the proposed student organization to Senate for approval. And the scheduler invites new student organizations to present at the student org committee meetings. And then next, 2/3 of the voting members of the committee are required for quorum, and all motions require a simple majority vote. And in the meetings, when deciding whether or not to approve the org, the two main things we look for are that the student organization must align with USD and ASG's mission and values, and that there are no duplicates. And if the student org is approved by the committee, then it will be presented at the next Senate meeting. And if it's approved at Senate, then they'll receive an email from Tour Orgs letting them know that they're registered org. And if for some reason they're not approved by our committee, then the club will still be presented at Senate with the disclaimer that we don't recommend approving the club, and then Senate can make the decision from there. And then we get into the extenuating circumstance clause, which basically just says that the committee reserves the right to make temporary changes to the bylaws in case of extraordinary circumstances. And then the amendments, to amend these bylaws, it requires a 2/3 majority of Senate. And yeah, I know that was a lot, but are there any questions with these orgs, or I mean with the bylaws?
I was wondering if you could provide more clarification on who makes up the External Affiliations Committee, or if one of the advisors would know that information.
I don't know that information personally. If Amanda will know.
Amanda.
Yes, I do know that information. So currently it's just made up of some campus partners. So as of right now, we have a member from our risk management, we have university ministry, and the Changemaker Hub are currently some campus partners that serve on it. There might be some changes moving forward, but those are our current members on the EAC.
Okay, thank you. Fantasy?
So I just had some concern, I guess, around, I don't know exactly what the wording was, but basically like the student org has to align with USD's mission. Not that, you know, some parts of our mission and our goals at the university are obviously good, and some parts of it are pretty exclusive. So like such as being a Catholic university, like will every university, I mean, every student org, you know, have to embody like the Catholic values? Like, can they get scrutinized for doing things such as like, I don't know, like promoting condoms on campus, or promoting like safe sex, or like not only abstinence or pro-life education and awareness? Like, I know that some orgs to this day like don't want to be affiliated as a official student org because they feel like they're going to be limited and what they can say and do, and like what they can ask for funding. So if that's the case and they do have to align with the Catholic values, but then they don't want to be an org, is there ways that the student org committee can still work with them on providing funding and providing support if they don't want to be affiliated with the as an official student org?
Sorry, I don't know where my raise hand function went, but can I speak?
You don't have to raise your hand since the floor is yours. So
okay, cool. Yeah, from my understanding, the student organization committee doesn't really have any part in the funding aspect. So we wouldn't really be able to like help provide like that support there, because that's through ASGBC and that's up to their discretion. But for us, again, it's up to the committee really, and how we see aligns with USD is kind of up to our interpretation. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a strict, you know, there's not like, oh, it needs to meet every single point. So yeah, and also if they're not like affiliated with USD, they can still meet with like, they're still leaders on campus and everything, so they can still use the student org committee as a resource.
Madeline?
Typically, when is the student org conference?
Yeah, that usually takes place in the beginning of the semester. So.
Lana, when you say beginning of the semester, you mean both spring and fall semesters?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, Lauren?
Yeah, what is the process for an org that hasn't been approved or like asked for approval, but is still using like USD's name and like says like official Torero chapter or something like that?
I don't have the answer to that. Amanda, did you have the answer to that?
Yeah, we have some things in our student org handbook currently that does not permit the usage of the University of San Diego's name for like organizations that are not officially registered. And currently right now, our handbook is being reviewed just for some recommendations by our general counsel. And so we're waiting to hear back from them to make some changes and enforcement moving forward. So
Madeline?
And then if like an org that wanted to be approved that semester missed the conference, then they would just have to wait a semester.
Yeah, so if they miss the conference, they would just have to go through the new org process, to my understanding. So they would have to, Amanda, does she have more clarification on that?
No, you're good. And this is a kind of like, it's a funny year. So typically in the past, what we've done is we've offered the conference one time in the spring semester and one time in the fall semester in person. And then we converted the content from the conference into an asynchronous training. Due to COVID, the conference was completely asynchronous and offered throughout the entire year for students to complete. And so that conference, the webinars and the workshops are located on our student activities and involvement website. So it actually is offered throughout the course of the year. I know this upcoming year, I was just talking with Madeline, and so the Student Org Conference Planning Committee is going to start to begin meeting to figure out what does the Student Org Conference look like moving forward. Right now, they're kind of polling students to see, is there a preference for asynchronous or synchronous training to be offered? I think there might be a combination of the two, and just depending on what is happening with our policies and how we can gather in the fall semester. But students will not ever have to wait. One of the cool things that we offer at USC is the rolling registration, that if students want to start a new club or re-register their old club, that they have up until April 1st in order to do so.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions, comments, concerns regarding the Student Org Committee bylaws? If not, are there any motions? Lauren?
I move to approve the Student Org Committee bylaws.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor having been seconded to approve the Student Org Committee bylaws. Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Senator Elena, can you please cast your vote? Thank you. Motion passes. The Student Org Committee bylaws have been approved. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to our next line item under new business is a presentation of Sustainable Period Products Initiative. Senator Brooke, the floor is yours.
So Alana's actually going to share her screen again for me because it's really slow when I do it. So my presentation today is obviously going to be on sustainable period products, but what I'm proposing is bringing two, or I guess 3 different types of products to USD with 2 different companies. If you were on Senate last year, you probably remember the presentation with Rhonda and Savannah on Dot Cup, which are reusable menstrual cups. And so I spoke to the same company, to the owner of that company, and we would be doing the same proposal as we did last year. But in addition to that, there would also be a partnership with a different company called the Organic Project to bring sustainable pads and tampons in addition to that. Switch the slide, Alana. Thank you. So with that being said, what we would be ordering, or I guess what I propose we order, would be 100 menstrual cups. And then the bulk orders of tampons and pads are 1,920 tampons and 1,200 pads. So why do we need these? Why is this important? Period poverty is the idea that every month there are millions of people in the US and across the globe that can't afford basic hygiene products. This affects 1 in 10 college students, and this isn't excluding USD. We are not immune to these experiences. And there are many students on our campus who may not be able to afford these products. Part of the reason that that's the case is because 30 states, including California, still have the so-called pink tax, which is taxing these necessary items as a luxury good, which adds to the overall cost every single month, which oftentimes is not a sacrifice that people can make. USD is a change maker campus, which means that we should be innovators in overcoming this issue on our campus and opening up more opportunities for our students who may not be able to afford these products to have that ease stress every single month. That being said, these products in specific are sustainable. None of them have any sort of plastic in it. The Dot Cup is a silicone cup that's made in the US. The product, it comes in paper and tin packaging. There's no plastic at all. And then the pads and tampons don't have any sort of plastic on those either. They're made of 100% cotton, and then they're packaged in biodegradable or recyclable materials. So the 2 companies that we'd be working with are, again, Dot Cup and the Organic Project. Dot Cup we'd previously worked with right before the pandemic happened. So because of that, that's what paused the project. But they're an amazing woman-owned company. The Organic Project is also a woman-owned company. It was created by 2 mothers. And both of these companies work towards ending period poverty in the United States and globally by donating a lot of their products. Dot Cup in particular, for every product purchase, donates 1 to somebody who doesn't have access to these hygiene products. And the Organic Project does a lot of different informational and educational events, specifically on college campuses and in a lot of nonprofit organizations that help people who are struggling with these issues. Both of them are ethical and they pay their workers fair wages. Dot Cup has a company and a factory based in LA. So they're subject to all the US regulations. And then the Organic Project has 2 companies, one of which is in Milan and one is in Madrid. And both these factories are low waste, they're certified organic, and they pay their workers fair wages. So the pricing for all this, Dot Cup is actually honoring the same deal that they made with Rhonda and Savannah last year. Despite the increase in their price, they got rid of all the plastic on their packaging, which made their prices go up a little bit. But they said they would actually honor their original agreement. So that would be 100 menstrual cups, and it's $15.50 per cup for the bulk order. So 1,550 total. And then the owner of the company didn't have an exact estimate of what the price for shipping would be, but she said to budget for a little less than $100. It could be a lot less than that. And then for the Organic Project, it'd be almost 2,000 tampons for $320 and 1,200 pads for $345, plus only around $24 for shipping. So that comes out to approximately $2,339. In terms of distribution, I am working with the Women's Commons to distribute these to different spaces on campus, as well as having the Women's Commons be a pickup spot. And that being said, I know it's really late in the semester, but period products generally have a shelf life of upwards of 5 years. So this could be something that we distribute throughout the summer and throughout the fall, especially once more people are back on campus, hopefully, and that would be partnered with programming events and educational events. Yeah, that's my presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
Sabrina?
I loved your presentation, first of all, fellow senator, but I had a question about nursing pads. So that's something that lactating students like need to use, and I know that there's similar like pads as well that you would have to use consistently multiple times throughout the day if you are lactating. And so I was wondering if that could be something that could be added to, because it is a super similar product, and it is also for like a biological need that you can't necessarily like help that you lactate necessarily like when you do. So I was just thinking if we would be able to expand it to include those students, because we are trying to work on improving our lactation spaces, and I think that would be a really good addition.
That's actually a great point and something that I didn't even think of. So the organic project has a variety of different 100% cotton, organic cotton certified products. So I can actually look into that and see if we could split any of our orders or add any of that into the wholesale price.
Lauren?
Really quick, could we go back to the slide that has the numbers on it? Sorry. The only thing that I was thinking about was like, first of all, I didn't hear you mention it. My apologies if you did, but how is like the decision going to be made of like who gets these products? And additionally, like there's over 3,000, it only says woman on the website. It's not very gender friendly, but over 3,000 women in undergrad on USD's campus, and like more faculty and staff as well, like that, like just increase that number, and other people who menstruate. So I was wondering if there was any chance we could even like increase these numbers to like accurately accommodate how many menstruating people there are on our campus.
I mean, I would love to. The purpose of this original proposal would be more of a pilot program type of thing, just to see how many of each one is used. So with the cups, just because they come in like a tin packaging that's like this big, and those are a little bit more expensive, and they're not as much like a grab and go thing. They're kind of more like a commitment because they are reusable. That would most likely be a sign up thing where you could pick it up either through like the Women's Commons or different spaces. That's something I'm talking to Erin Lovett Collier about. And then as for tampons and pads, those would be more of like a grab and go kind of accessible thing in different spaces on campus. And while I would love to increase the numbers, this was some of the original bulk pricing, and just with the semester ending so quickly, I think this is a really good place to start and just see how successful the program ends up being. And if we ended up needing to order more, I do have all the contact information, and I've met with both of the owners of both of these companies. And I do have continuing communication with both of them.
Fantasy?
Thank you. Yes, thank you for this presentation. And I think it's good to know that it's mainly focused for the rest of the semester, which I think helps me at least understand some of the numbers and the pilot program of it. I guess I would recommend also just like, I don't know if it would be partnering or just like if we do get these, like distributing them in the SHWIP, so the Center for Health and Wellness promotion, also the health center, and then also the food pantry. I know the food pantry has some products in there as well for folks who are registered. And I was also going to ask if these would be, like, I know that at USD when we were physically there were pads and tampons sometimes just in there randomly. I don't know who gave those out or like who they came from, but would these be like added onto those products that are, I'm assuming USD keeps up on, or are these the products? Like, does it only come from someone who requests it is why we would get them at the university? Does that make sense?
So I actually was looking into that, and I will have to do more research on that part of it, just because, yeah, like I know there have been certain products made available in like some of the bathrooms, sometimes in some of the res halls, but it does seem fairly inconsistent. So this would, as of now, like kind of fill those gaps. And were that to be more successful, I think it would be one of those things where it could be more of a replaceable thing where it's this instead of that, rather than offering both options and seeing if this one ends up being successful. And as for the point about the food pantry, I did not even think about that. So that is a great point, and I'll definitely reach out to them. But I am working with different like campus partners right now in terms of the distribution and rollout.
Fantasy, did you have a follow-up question? Okay, just want to make sure. So Brooke, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're asking for a funding for this proposal?
Yes.
And just to clarify for the Senate, if there is a motion to approve this funding request, it would come from the Senate Initiatives Fund, and the vote would require a 2/3 vote. Sean?
I move to approve the funding for this initiative.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor, having been seconded, to approve the Sustainable Period Products Initiative. Is there any further discussion? Fantasy?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of, I guess, reiterate the time that we have left at university. And although I agree with the previous senator's statements of like increasing the amount, therefore increasing the funding and the representation of folks who menstruate, I think that this shouldn't be the last time that we talk about this. It should be on our focus and on our agenda for the next coming year. But I do appreciate Brooke for even proposing this, as we don't have much time left and we do have a lot of money left, if I'm not mistaken. So thank you.
Is there any further discussion on this motion? If not, please cast your votes. Motion passes. This initiative has been approved. Thank you, everyone. And that leads us to our last agenda item under new business, which is approval, or which is reviewing a new student org seeking approval. So Brooke, the floor is yours.
Hi again. So we only have one returning org this week, and it's Club Water Ski. So they were originally a club sport on campus, but then their boat broke, I guess. So now they're trying to get up and running for the last little bit of campus or of time on campus as we move into the orange tier. So they're a little bit different than other club organizations. They accept pretty much anybody who wants to try it out. You don't have to have experience in it. And their mission is really just like promoting community, especially right now, and allowing different people to try out this new sport and getting active, and just kind of exploring different areas of San Diego, especially the Mission Bay. Does anyone have any questions? Oh.
Sean?
I move to approve Club Water Ski.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor, having been seconded, to approve Club Water Ski. Is there any further discussion? Lauren?
Yeah, my only concern, I know you said that they were already a club previously, And like, I'm all for like being very accepting of like anyone at any level, but like my only initial thought is like water skiing can be dangerous for someone who doesn't like know how to do it, I think. And so I was wondering if you knew anything about like if they have like instructors who are like certified on this, or like how. I see that alumni helps with coaching, but I feel like I'm wondering if you have any more information like their safety aspect.
Yeah, so basically like what they explained to us was that they have people who used to be in the club or who used to water ski at USD. They're basically the coaches, so they'll go through all the fundamentals and the safety and everything. And then they go through everything that happens like on the boat, off the boat, everything. So yeah.
Is there any further discussion regarding this motion? If not, please cast your votes. Motion passes. Club water ski has been approved. Thank you, everyone. That brings us to final business and hearing of the public. At this time, any senator may take from the table any motion previously laid on the table in the meeting the week before or present urgent business. Any member of the public may voice any concerns to the assembly on non-agenda items. Jen?
Hi, everyone. It's good to see you all. It's been a while since I've been able to chat, so hope everyone's doing well this semester. One special reach out I wanted to do today is to seek volunteers for an on-campus interviews coming up for the new vice provost. It would be the person replacing Dr. Miller, just for your frame of reference. And so there will be a portion of their interviews where students can ask questions, learn more about the candidate, and offer input. So I will be putting the dates in the chat right now, and all of the dates, the time is from 10:30 to 11:45 Pacific PDT. So I would love it if you all can share with me, and I need to know this today if possible. So you can chat, send it to me, or email me and let me know if you're available for any of the dates. You don't have to just volunteer for one. If you're available for all of them, that's great. Or if you're just available for one, that's fine too. But this is a really important position at the university. So I would highly, highly encourage you, if you have the time available, to sign up and let me know so you can be a part of the feedback for this position. If you have any questions, you can ask. Happy to provide more information. So there's 4 candidates coming to campus. Can I answer that question, Maya?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It will be Zoom. I believe I heard it's, if I'm wrong, I'll let you know, but I believe it's all virtual.
Madeline?
Is there a place where we can find like information about the position so like we would know what questions to ask?
That's a really great question, Madeline, Senator. So sorry, doing the best I can. Once once you volunteer, you will be reached out to provide more information on like how you can answer the question. And I'll also let them know that you should get the job description, all of those things, so that you can formulate the questions that you need. But once I get the volunteers, you all were the people who volunteer will get more information. Thank you for that. That's probably really helpful. Anything else? Okay, thank you. Oh, is that a question?
Audrey?
Yeah, hi. This is like kind of like an individual question though, so I don't know if somebody's hanging back or if you want to just do it now.
An individual question for me or for Senate?
Oh, just for Senate, sorry.
Oh, okay. Maya, I'm gonna pass that on to you.
Feel free, Audrey.
Okay, thank you. Hi, I'm one of the co-presidents for Bio Club, and so I just came on here because I was told that there's also like kind of like an office hours type of thing, and so I don't know if this was that, but I'm just kind of been confused about applying for like funding for something that already has happened in the past for an event that happened last week. So I don't know if there's somebody like on the ASG board who's like responsibility it is to like help people apply for funding, but like the process, it was kind of confusing online. There's so many different forms, so I was wondering if somebody could help me with that, and I don't need to take up everybody's time right now, so maybe if I could just get in contact with someone possibly.
For sure. I think our ASGBC controller, Chris, would be able to help you out with that. Chris, I don't know if you want to answer the question right now or just send Audrey your email.
Yeah, definitely get in touch. I don't know why I'm lobstering out right now on Zoom, but I'll send you my email. All right, and we'll get in touch. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Cool.
Great. Does anyone have any other questions, comments? Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Maya. I don't know if y'all know, but there's a little election going on right now in a thing called ASG. So if you're a member of the public, you should get on that and go on your portal and vote.
Alana?
I move to adjourn today's meeting.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor having been seconded to adjourn today's meeting. Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your vote. Ari, can you please cast your vote? Are you there? Okay, we'll try one last time. Are you there? If not, then motion passes. This meeting has been adjourned. Thank you, everyone.